Hello. I would like to talk about this heinous crime that happened in United Talmudical Academy of Kiryas Joel. And the crime is much worse that they're trying now to say that it's not a crime. This is the kind of love that the principal gives to students. But when you look at it, you see the student was shivering and shaking, and he didn't want that kind of love. And to every normal person, we consider this sex. But it's a way that he gives out his ugly sexual desires on a child. Now, I first want everybody to know that I spoke to the grandson of this Rabbi Moshe Hersh Klein, and he told me that when he grew up, his grandfather used to give the same love to his grandchildren. Put him between the legs and push him, and meanwhile pushing a little the penis and pushing a little into the penis. He says, we hated it. We stayed away from this grandfather a mile away, and this was all an act of sex. So he told me in public. So I would like to bring out a few points that these naive, ignorant, stupid Jewish women who live in this box that was created in Kiryas Joel, and that means don't think further than we want you, and don't look further than we want you, and we're going to rule your life. So I have to speak about this. The first thing is that I want to make clear as it can be, that I got tens and tens of phone calls from women in Kiryas Joel, and they told me, Rabbi, you're hammering away for 10 years what's going on with children. We never believed this. We thought that you live in illusions. Well, that's what the yeshiva and the schools posted letters about me to make me look like a fool. But now you people are fooled. They were crying. They were said, what? Is this where we're sending our children all day? Are they the ones that's supposed to teach our children from holiness and from God and for humanity? It's unbelievable. This is where they're going to such a hell, they said? This is not normal. This is hell. So I would like to read what this school answered and how they're whitewashing it, such improper behavior. As far as I'm concerned, it's sexual behavior. And I would also like to give you a message before I read it. Many women call me up, can you come and protest here? Can you make sure that this doesn't happen again? I said, no way. It's your children. You live there, and you got to make sure. You know, you can buy pre-worn pants, pre-worn shoes. You can buy pre-eaten food. You know, the mother takes the food in her mouth. She chews it a little so that it's easier for the child, for the baby that is, and she also feels if it's not too hot. You can even have pre-chewed food, but you can't have people being removed from such a position as a principal without at least 50 or 100 women to go in front of the school and to protest. Now, if you don't have the courage to do that, then you should go for help. You need definitely help, psychiatric help, and also help to make you more self-esteem, because these people are robbing your children blind. They've been doing it for years and years. And if you're not going to do it, I won't do it for you. First of all, it would be impossible because I don't live there. Second of all, they would say, well, the women are very happy. He's giving grandfather love. I want to understand something. Why is Weber been in jail for so many years? He also gave grandfather love. He was a grandfather. He had a 12-year-old girl, and the way he looked at her, it was a pity that she shouldn't have sex by 12. So he decided he gave her grandfather love. And not only to her, we have another 14 victims or more that we know about that he gave them grandfather love. So why is he in jail? So let's consider all sexual crimes grandfather love, depending if the man is a grandfather or not. If he's a grandfather, we'll call it grandfather love. And if he's not a grandfather, we'll call it father love. Or we'll call it sex freak love. This is such a disgusting letter. And if I don't see at least 50 women protesting in front of that school, shame on you all. You should all be ashamed of yourselves. Don't forget, don't ever be afraid if more than 10 people do it. They're not going to throw out everybody. And even if they throw you out, go out, because that's not a place for your children to be raised at. Let's take the other case. Baruch Mordechai Leibowitz, he was a grandfather. I think he was maybe even a great-grandfather. So he molested children one by one in the mikvahs. He took them in his car for a ride. He let them drive. He molested them. Hey, that's great-grandfather love. Why was he in jail until he bought himself out for millions of dollars, plus that crook, that lawyer, Al Dershowitz, and the crook, the DA's office. It's unbelievable. He gave them great-grandfather love. What's the problem? This is how rotten our community is, and nobody thinks straight. And if you want to think straight, they're going to ostracize you, throw your children out. Your children shouldn't be learning in such a school. And this is a message to our government. Don't give them money either. You're wasting your good dollars, not on education, but on sex freaks, and half of the money goes in the pockets of the principal and the people who are in the administrative office, and with all the lies that they have psychiatry help, psychology help, and all these lies, it's all pocket money for some people. And the children are meat for some pedophiles. Now I'm going to read the statement. It says an official statement by the Board of Directors of the United Talmudic Academy of Kiryas Joel Incorporated, UTA parentheses. I want you to know that when you start this letter, it does say on top, with God's help. The only problem is with this letter is that it's not signed by anybody. Now this is the old technique that the Satmar brought along from Romania, from wherever they came from, and it was a country with full of lies and thieves and everything. And they remain on the same level here. They would give out a letter, it's not signed. In 4 months from now, they'll say, well, you know, a girl from the second grade wrote this letter. You don't know these people. They stole millions from the government. Then one day, Friday night, they stole the safe from the office, and they said somebody came, threw it out of the window, and they had a car down in the highway, and he took away the safe, and we have no evidence. You don't know these people. But, unfortunately, all the people here, and wherever there's the Jewish people live in a community, and they have the power votes, and they have the money, which they steal from the children. Money that was given for children, for education, they steal that money, and when it needs to bribe politicians, they have the money to bribe them and let all the pedophiles walk. That's the way this community looks. So they never signed it. So it's not even signed by anybody, and it's all over in all the newspapers. But watch and see, they'll say a girl from the second grade wrote this. Anyway, it's dated May 10, year 2016. Paragraph number 1. There's no paragraph names, but I'm going to name them. Paragraph 1. A series of videos has recently been made public depicting one of our senior school principals in close contact with students in his office. The videos have been mischaracterized by the media and critics of our community as being evidence of child abuse. We vehemently disagree with this assessment. Well, who is the we? It's not signed. I don't know who is the we. It could be it's the principal himself, or it could be all these tens of teachers that you had all these years, and we fought to get them out because they were molesting children. It could be it's Nehemiah Weberman from prison who wrote this letter. Who knows now? We're not sure about anybody. You had a shoichet, Mr. Mendelovich, who was caught visiting an X-rated peep show, and he's supposed to be a holy man, and he had to leave his job. There were so many people, top position people, who were caught with so much evil. So who is this we? Now let's go back to our side. You're saying that the media has made this whole mischaracterization? I got phones from women, and they were crying. They said, I don't believe this. So who is the we, and who is they? Everybody in his right mind that sees this knows that this is evil. It's a sexual act, and it should not happen. And if it did happen, that principal should leave his post. But you can't throw him out because he probably has more information that he can probably sit in jail most of the teachers there, because it goes one hand washes another. Now, this is paragraph number 2. It doesn't say a paragraph, but it is. The principal in question is a respected rabbi in our community with over 30 years experience in religious instructions and administration. Now, what does this have to do with the price of beans in China if he was caught doing evil? And now, because he was caught, everybody talks and he says, yes, he's been doing this for 20 and 30 years. Now, we had Mr. Eichmann in Williamsburg, who was also here maybe 20 or 30 years, and he did molest the boys the whole time. There are people who are coming out even now and saying what he did to them. So just because he's there 30 years doesn't mean anything. You know, remember, until I came out with my hotline 10 years ago and I was an ostracization from your rabbis, until then everybody did it. There was a common practice that every teacher, quote, every teacher would pull down the boys' pants and underpants and the zippers and molest them and play with them and take take them to the mikveh and even put on their penis. The rabbi would put in his penis some honey and give the boy to suck. It was a common practice, and not only in UTA, but unfortunately in all Jewish schools. And that's why they ostracized me. They did the right thing because they knew when this thing will blow open, they will look very ugly. So he's there for 30 years. Maybe he's been doing this for 30 years. Now, it says he has an unblemished professional record as an educator. I want to ask you something. You never kept a log of any teachers. Every time I used to go out and I used to tell you that this teacher is touching boys or this driver is touching boys, we had to fight until you got them out. So you never kept a log when there's a complaint. And now this is one of the things that the Jewish schools are worse than the Catholics in this respect. By the Catholics, anytime there was a complaint on a priest, they would put it down on paper. Well, that's what I read anyway. By us, there is no records. You go into any shul and ask any married person with the age of around 30 to 40 years, tell me, this rabbi used to touch? They would all tell you yes. There's not one voice that would say no. And this is on most of the teachers. So what are you giving me the business that he's 30 years and there's no record? What kind of record should it be? You never kept a record. You never thought that one person like Rabbi Rosenberg would overturn the whole system, that everything would come out. You know, I even get a lot of compliments from priests. They said, because you started this in 1998, in year 2002, the Boston Globe broke the news. And then the Pope at that time called them the Satan. Now we see who the Satan is. The popes are trying to hide the sins of the bishops and of the priests. We see who the Satans are. Shame on them all. Now it's continuing. It says he has an unblemished professional record as a educator, working with the second generation of students who overwhelmingly support and respect him. By all means, I was one of the first ones to put it on my hotline, and I have thousands of listeners worldwide, and people call me in. You know, when I grew up, he did the same thing to me, and I was so embarrassed and afraid of him. So you're saying that this is the second generation and nobody has complaints? My phone doesn't stop ringing with complaints. When I walk in the street, people start to complain. In fact, you know, that fact that he did what he did made my hotline and my teachings look more realistic. Because until now, Satmar would say, hey, I sit and imagine all night sexual fantasies. And then in the morning, I say it on my hotline. Now they say, no, I didn't fantasize this. This is with a video recorded. Now, there's another paragraph now. As a religious educational institution, UTA inculcates the values of our faith and is committed to ensuring the physical and emotional safety of all of our students in a healthy and rigorous learning environment. So I want to ask you a question, UTA. Where were you all these years? Why did I, Rabbi Rosenberg, had to start this war with UTA and all other yeshivas, and it took 6 or 7 years for the public to realize that I'm right, and all of a sudden you're 30 years experience in religious instructions and administration? Why did I have to fight that every mikveh that you and all other Jewish organizations own is a gay bed to sodomize young children? And who is doing that? Old rabbis with long beards. I went to Jerusalem. They have the holiest of the holiest, the Eid Achredis. They had a gay bed and it was closed because I fought. And then when the rabbis passed away, they reopened it. And I get calls almost every week. Rabbi, I went into the Zhupnik's mikveh and somebody bothered me. They either sodomized me or they touched me inappropriate. So I don't understand. You are a religious organization. You still have tens of mikvahs that are uncontrolled. You have a few of them that now is under control because you're afraid not of God and not of His Torah and not of humanity. You're afraid of lawsuits. Just like Yeshiva University had a few $100 million lawsuits. You don't want to go through that because you'll be wiped out. So don't sell us the baloney what you are. Why is there one person in Williamsburg that started this whole war against pedophiles, and I went worldwide, and most of the people who are doing this work, they're following me and I train them in? Why is it that there was nobody from all of your rabbis? Where was the Aaronites and the Zolanites to speak about this? Why is it that in the camps there is so many problems? Why is it that when we finally find somebody and he's on the video, then the key people from the camp erase it? Why is it there was a girl girl, she was raped in Camp Aguda. And they started admitting it, and now they're lying all about it. Why is all this going on? Is it because we are 30 years experience in religious instructions and administration? What a joke. And then it says that you're also ensuring the physical and the emotional safety of all your students in a healthy, rigorous learning environment? What kind of lie is that? And what kind of nonsense is that? Nehemiah Weberman, no way does he have any credibility to be a psychologist or a psychiatrist. He was used by UTA in Williamsburg and in Kiryas Joel for girls that have problems. He should try to mentor them. Is he the person to do that? You know, he raped all these girls. It's not even his fault. If I was the judge, I would put Aaron and Zalman and all those principals, I would put them in jail. Where was Rabbi Hersh Klein, who is 50 years or more with these children? And he writes now a whole magazine about his braveness, how he did as a principal. How did they ever allow a male figure in his house where he had 2 apartments, one where he lived with his wife and in the other one where he's supposed to help these girls? How did they allow this? Well, I'm not even talking about religion. I'm talking about moral. How did they allow this? And they claim, listen to this is what they claim, that with over 30 years experience in religious instructions and administration, he has an unblemished professional record as an educator. He was the one that Nehemiah worked for him to help problem children. Well, he's in the boys division and they're in the girls division, but they know everything what's going on. They're all principals and rabbis. What kind of nonsense is this statement? There was a teacher there, Mendel Waldman, who I knew that he came from Unkach and Borough Park. He molested every student. Then he became a Kiryas Joel teacher. And you know how hard I had to work to get this man out of there? You know how hard it was to work to get every pedophile out of there? And you're saying that you have experience 30 years in religious instructions and administration. He has an unblemished professional record as an educator, working with the second generation of students. What a joke. Who overwhelmingly supports and respects him, they don't. I spoke to a lot of people. They said he was a pedophile all these years. Next, as a religious educational institution, UTA inculcates the value of our faith and is committed to ensure the physical and emotional safety of our students. What kind of faith? You have no faith? Nonsense. You took off that God created the world from public school because the government is giving money for UPK. You have no faith. You have a faith in the dollar. Don't give us all these garbage. Now, you're saying that you're making sure to ensure the physical and emotional safety for all our students. If one student would have guts and they would dare to go and make a complaint, he would be kicked out of school. His parents would be kicked out of Kiryas Joel. If he has a job, they would take it away from him, and he would be in ostracization. That's what they did to me for the same reason of going to complain. And I didn't go to the government first. I went to the board of directors, and then the rabbi sort of saw that something was going to hurt them, so they made an ostracization. And it's already God knows how many years that I don't have a shul to daven in. So what is the joke here? You are worried for safety of children? No, you're not. There's so many times when I tell people, you want, I'll go with you to the police. Well, let's make a complaint. I'll go to the DA's office. They come back the next day that they were threatened with the worst. So you people are selling us now a lie that you're worried about physical and emotional safety for all our students. I want to ask you, from the people that were caught and they admitted that they did sex for years with children, how come nobody goes to psychiatry? Why don't you let people go to psychiatry? Why isn't there a psychologist or a psychiatrist in every building? That's because you're all afraid that whatever happened and whatever went on should not come out. And you're telling me that you're worried for the safety of the children. Baloney. Now it's saying, it's continuing the mission. It says we do not tolerate any inappropriate contact between our staff and students. You know, this is such a joke that I don't even know how the paper tolerated to be written on it. You know, it's been going on for years and years, and we're fighting with it. And the cases that we are able to get to court, they all admit that it's true. And they've been doing this for years. And when anybody comes to complain, they make sure that he shuts his mouth up. So you're telling me now that what? That you people are concerned and you do not tolerate any inappropriate contact with your staff and students? I myself had given you tens of names and teachers that had to be removed, but you didn't do it out of goodwill. You did it because you were afraid. And I don't understand. In the camps, I keep on telling you that there's one specific family that they run one of the camps, and that family molests every night children in the woods. They take them out, and they're still there. What baloney you're selling. Now, it continues on like this. In the video, the school principal is seen embracing the student who was sent to his office for behavioral issues. So wait a minute. If this student has problems with behavioral issues, where's the doctor for him? Where's the psychologist? Where's the psychiatrist? And let me ask you, after making such a sex commotion with him, you think he's going to go back to school and be a lot better? That's what you really think? Why? Because you gave him a candy at the end he shouldn't say anything? What a joke. Why isn't this written in Sigmund Freud's books in psychiatry? That to embrace a child, you hug him between your legs, you squeeze his penis, you try to make it aroused, but you don't touch it without pulling down the pants, because otherwise you'll go to jail. But you do everything possible for your sexual desire, and then you just let him go loose with a candy. This is a joke. And I'd hate to know how many people he molested without the pants on. We just have this video, because you can't put on with a child. If you do child pornography, you go to jail just for putting it on. So I don't even trust anything. I want to ask another question. We fought for a bill that the United States government is paying for every private school, that there should be videos in there. Why in his office there was not a regular video? This is a video that doesn't have sound, and it's only above his head. It doesn't take the whole room like you're supposed to. So obviously it's either disconnected or was never put in, and the money went to somebody in his pocket. It went to one of the people, to one of the officials from the school, the board. This is a joke what's going on. Why doesn't the government have the official recording of this? It continues on. While this type of restraint may be unacceptable to some viewers, well, first of all, to every viewer, it is unacceptable. Whoever had time called me up and said, we don't accept it as mothers and as fathers. But it continues on. It in no way rises to the level of a criminal assault. Are you for real? That means our school system is made that as long as the boy still had his pants on, you can do anything you want with him? This is a joke. Then it keeps on going. These videos were sent to the state and the county officials over 7 months ago, and both UTA and the rabbi in question have fully cooperated with the law enforcement and will continue to do so until this matter is concluded. Well, I don't understand. There's two parts in this. There's one, what the people think, which means the parents, and they're all upset and they're all angry. The other one is where you go into the government system, where they have a lot of respect for the Satmar votes and the money. Now it's coming out what kind of crooks these people are. Police officers that took bribes, they took prostitutes, they took trips to Las Vegas. It's unbelievable. You know, we didn't even believe that that's how low the police force is. So now you're saying that you went to the state and county officials. Well, they've been doing a lot of harm for Kiryas Joel all these years. Remember all these years? The police used to look away an eye. This was a joke the whole time. So now what do you want? That they should go against UTA? They eat from UTA. They sleep with UTA. They get their bribes from UTA. They get the voting power from UTA. Of course, they'll say UTA is okay and there's nothing wrong with that. But we're not concerned about that. That's only a matter whether he should go to jail or not. But the next question is whether should he stay on his job, and the answer is he should never be on this job. Should be taken out and kicked out. And then, if the parents want to prosecute, they should do that. Where were all the parents to go into the same time to the state and the county officials to talk? Where were they all? This is a joke. Now, the letter continues. We have met with and are continuing to meet with the parents of the students and our staff in order to appropriately deal with this matter. There's no reason to meet with anybody. They cannot say what they want and they're feeling because you people are their boss and they are under terror, just like in a third world country where you can't speak out your rights. This went on from Kiryas Joel the whole time from the beginning, and especially now where this thing of sexual abuse is surfacing. You don't know how to hide your embarrassment. So now you're dealing with the parents, you're meeting with the parents. They should make an outside commission, a committee of doctors, psychologists, and psychiatrists. They should meet with the parents, and if the parents feel that they don't want him, he should be kicked out. You don't meet with parents. Now, the final phrase is, child abuse in any form is unacceptable. Of course not, but not to Satmar, and not to all the Jewish organizations and the Jewish schools, and even not to Agudas Yisrael. They're fighting tooth and nail that they shouldn't make a Maki law, they shouldn't throw out teachers, they shouldn't believe. Why? Because they claim it's going to close down the schools. They'll be in bankruptcy because of lawsuits. You know what? Maybe it's better to close them down. Maybe we don't even need these kind of schools. So now they came up with a new saying, child abuse in any form is unacceptable. Hey, so why did they ostracize me? Because I spoke about child abuse? What was wrong with when I started to speak about it? You know, Aaron has a son whose name is Mendel. He's the big rabbi in Brooklyn. He used to molest her when he was a teenage boy, used to molest every child in the yeshiva. And they used to tell Aaron, listen, we can't keep on like this with your son. So he says he's not made out of rubber. I guess he wasn't made out of rubber. And then he molested his students in Belgium. And he was long married then. And they closed down that school. Trust me. Maybe we don't need such schools. Then they continue with the letter.
The evidence in this particular case in no way supports this accusation.
Nehemiah Weberman was also never supported by this accusation. And Yagutkin was never supported with this accusation. And Baruch Mordechai Leibowitz was never supported with this accusation. Nobody's ever supported with this accusation. As long as you don't want to believe it. It's up to you. Because you have enough power to ostracize anybody. And by the way, not that it makes a big difference. I'm in ostracization and I'm just as happy as if I wasn't. And I'm maybe even happier now. Because the fight was a very worthwhile fight. And thank God we are winning this fight. Now the letter continues. We stand with our parents, students, and staff. Baloney. They have no right and no way to say a word. There was a guy, Rabbi Waldman, who used to go to the television's 60 Minutes, and he showed what kind of corruption went on there. But obviously they paid him off some money too.
And now he goes on News 12 and he sticks up for this principle, the swine.
And I'm taking a disclaimer on this. I can't prove that they paid him off, but we know that he was paid off. So that's what it's all about. It's the green dollar. It's not about God. It's not about Torah. It's not about Talmud. It's not about Judaism. It's not about heritage. It's one green dollar. And you don't stand with the parents, with the students, and with the staff. It's lies. How many times did I call up to complain on certain things? You didn't care less. You just wanted to see if I'll have enough power to manipulate. And the same is with all the yeshivas. Okay, it says we stand with our parents, students, and staff at this time in the defense of our institution and the reputation of our school principal. His reputation is shot. And because you got involved in it, you're shooting your reputation as well. You're not realizing it, but your reputation is shot just as well. If the people would have a vote, they would vote out Aaron and all his principals and all these evil people. But unfortunately, there's no vote, and the U.S. government thinks that they're doing good by giving yeshivas monies. They don't know it's a waste of every penny. There's no education in any school. There's one education that they do have, I'm sorry. It's sex education. A boy can go in the mikveh by 5. People will play with his penis. They'll make him aroused, and they'll make him anal sex, not embarrassed in front of 10 people watching. And this is the education that they do have. I'm sorry. No, they do have an education. They can rape their own daughters who are 3 and 4 and 5 years old. So they have a very good education, but not a secular education. The government is just putting in monies and monies and monies. It's going back to the politicians under the table, and that's why the politicians are voting for these programs, and that's the whole vicious cycle that's going around. And now, again, this letter was not signed by anybody. Tomorrow they'll say, I just leaked through. A child from the 2nd grade wrote it. You don't know these people. I grew up with them and I live with them.
And by the way, I just want to remind the people of a story that happened not too long ago. When the trial of Nehemiah Weberman was going on, then one of the principals from Kiryas Joel, who happened to be Weberman's cousin, came to testify on behalf of Weberman what a fine person he is. He was asked on the stand how many children is under his jurisdiction. He said about 4,500. Then
he was asked what kind of credentials does he have, and the answer was none. These are the principles of Kiryas Joel, loving children. Guess what? We were there and we saw this. Now, it's not finished yet. He was caught with a lie, this Mr. Fireworker. How? They asked him, is there a Vadat Tznius in Kiryas Joel? And the answer was no. And Weberman had said before that, where he wasn't in the court to listen, Mr. Fireworker was not in the court to listen, Weberman had testified that there is a Mishmeres HaTznius in Kiryas Joel. So these are the lies from uneducated principals. Okay, this is just to clarify a little of what's going on and what the people think about this letter and what the people think about the principal and about UTA. And this has to be stopped. We are pleading to the government. Our education money is being robbed. It's being spent to the wrong things. We have no say in the school. There is no votes. You bring in a teacher and everybody says, no, he's no good. They do what they want. And please don't help them with monies until we have a vote. As the old saying used to go, no taxation without representation. Thank you very much. This is Rabbi Rosenberg, just to keep you informed of what's going on.